Hello, this is Mark from Gary's Guitars in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and I'm here to talk about common guitar problems. We see them every day. A bunch of guitars come in every day for repairs and adjustment, and so I was just going to talk about the things we see so that you're aware of them if you're not aware of them. Um, I'm going to use a sample guitar today that is a Seagull, and I want to start off by saying this is no way any kind of diss on Seagull guitars. I personally love Seagull guitars. Um, I own three. Two of them were amongst my first good guitars I could afford at all 25 years, 20, I don't know, 30 years ago. A long time ago. so, um, they have a special place in my heart. But this example guitar, guitar happened to come in that has all these problems, so why not use that guitar? So, bonjour. Here's the Seagull that I was talking about. This one looks like it's from the late 80s with that headstock on it. So it's been through a lot, and it's toward the end of its lifespan. It's still, I didn't even tune it when I picked it up. Still works and plays. So guitars that are in a little bit of degradation, sometimes they just settle in and they just stay like that forever. And this might be one of those guitars. Everything is kind of bent and warped in a certain way, and it just kind of stays there. It's like the old Ford Ranger pickup truck that refuses to die, except it rusts out. Anyways, let's go. People come in the store. They're like, "Hey, my action's high." Happens all the time. And usually, for two reasons. One is people are wimps. No, sorry. People want action that's lower than the factory action. And so they'll buy a brand new Martin and come in and say, "I just got this Martin. I love it, but I want the action lowered." And sure, we'll do that. People just want the easiest possible guitar to play. I did a video about this, and it was a little controversial in that people got to shouting in the comments. So that's all I'll say about that. People want their action lowered. But first of all, the truss rod. People come in and they go like, "Hey, I heard there's this magic thing, and I heard you just turn this thing in the guitar and it makes the action lower." Not necessarily. We turn a thing in the guitar. So the truss rod in this guitar, the adjustment is located under here. It's a metal rod that goes the length of the neck, and as you can tighten it and loosen it to regulate the straightness of the neck. If the neck is straight, there's no amount of truss rod adjusting that will lower your action. If your neck is bent forward a bit, that means it can be straightened and your action will be lower. And if the neck is bent backwards, which also happens, it can be loosened, hopefully, and that will that's a lot less common, but it can be a good first step. Now, there's a problem that this guitar has, which is something we call the truss rod being maxed out. Meaning, you do more tightening than loosening of the truss rod, and 35 years later, you go to tighten it, they don't go anymore. You've used all the threads on the adjustment, and it just is what it is. It will continue to put the pressure it continues to put on it unless it breaks. But you can't use it to straighten the neck anymore, and that's the case on this guitar. This has a little bit of a bend in the neck. Nothing terrible, but it adds to the fact that this guitar has high action. So, onward. There's a hole in your guitar. It's right where there's an incredible amount of pressure going from the nut to the saddle, up and down here. The strings are a couple hundred pounds of pressure, and kind of like someone standing on top of the guitar, and it's going to cause the guitar to want to alleviate that by moving. And so the hole is in a very inconvenient place. That's a very convenient place for sound, very inconvenient place for design. So we're not able to reinforce the top so much. And then we get what we call top distortion. And so we look across the top, and this might be hard on the video, but it actually goes down a little here. So we've got bridge rotation. The bridge is rotated forward. This goes down a little here. Belly forms right here. And it's pretty common. It's so common that it doesn't scare me anymore. Years ago, I was like, "Oh my God, this guitar is gonna I've seen it happen so many times in guitars, even especially Martins, that just, it's usually, some of it's from neglect, but some of it is these things weren't meant to last for 100 years, and so these, there's a degradation that happens. Guitars are a magical thing, but they're not literally magical. So, you get the bridge rotating forward, a belly happening here, and pushing down on the top here, and that raises your action. Now, the alleviation for that is, kind of the next step in lowering action would be to lower the saddle. The saddle is usually made of bone, a composite, or plastic, and it can be raised and lowered either by changing its height, or by shimming it, or replacing it. This has been done on this guitar. It's not as low. It's as low as you ever want it. It could be lowered a little bit if you had to, but this guitar is just not gonna dish out like that. Now, in this other video I made about why low action sucks, if you don't get enough downward pressure against the saddle, it affects your overall volume and tone. That's why Martin ships their guitars with high saddles on them, because they sound great. And then people bring them in here and ask us to lower the action. So, some guitar companies are now kind of, making their guitars just super low action, just to satisfy the customer, because that's just the trend right now. And maybe the trend will come around in a different way. So, problem number 3 in the acoustic guitar world is that same thing with this pressure from here to here. The neck creeps this way. So, like I said, everything wants to fall into the sound hole. Everything's just heading in this direction, and the neck creeps up this way, and it's just the entire guitar getting distorted, bending. It's sometimes the neck will actually come loose, but sometimes in this case this neck is tight as can be, and it's at the wrong angle, and you have to change the neck angle. Most acoustic guitars have a dovetail joint, which is has a compound math in its design, meaning you have to shim it in different ways to reshape and put in little bits of wood and take out little bits of wood to change the angle of the neck to the guitar. It's a very difficult thing to do. So when someone comes in and they're like, well, I got this guitar, I love this Seagull, had it all my life, and it's like, ooh, you need a neck reset, and they go like, well, how much is it going to be? And it's like $500, and that's not even, the guy who does this work drives a 15-year-old car. He's not getting rich doing the work, even at that price, because it is the culmination of a life of guitar making and repair, but also it is number 2, it's just very time consuming. Sometimes you got to do it again and again, because you got to test fit it, and you got to get it right. So it's a bunch of work. And most guitars, unless they're fabulous guitars, like this, this is a fabulous guitar, the Seagull, but they're just not ready for that. Or that, we have some Harmony guitars that we've had the necks reset on, because now they are valuable enough and great sounding old wood that people will want them, and it's worth doing that work on. But in this case, this Seagull is just going to have to live with the high action. So, I'm going to do another one of these to talk about, there's one more problem, and this is mostly, we see more in electric guitars than acoustic, and that's prop twist. The twist of the neck like a propeller. I think this guitar doesn't have it. I said it had everything, but... And how do you see that? Well, this has a little, yeah. How do you see that? It's, your high points and low points will be on opposite sides of the neck. And so the neck will have, well, the prop part is like propeller, like an airplane propeller. And it's pretty subtle usually, but it makes for difficult setups. And we see it more and more, necks twisting, especially on electrics. But I'll do that, and I'll talk about that when I do the same video about electric guitars. So, there are some common problems in guitars. These all can be mitigated a bit. All guitars can be fixed up a bit. All guitars are magical and beautiful friends, so it is worth keeping them and keeping them going. But just realize that guitars don't necessarily last forever, and they will have problems. So just keep an eye. Just most importantly, keep your humidity conditions in the green zone, which for us is 40 to 60. And that's just going to help your instrument survive. All right, well, that's enough for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Check out all the other videos here on YouTube, and talk to you soon.